First, let me lighten this up a little because I've loaded you up with a lot of statistics. It's hard sometimes when you're out with all your kids, right? Because a society is like you're taking up too much oxygen. You get all these questions. Don't you have a TV? Don't you know what causes that? You don't fit. All this. You're just taking up too much of the environment. And so I was out with my 7 children at one point, and it was at a time period where we were playing a lot of Dean Martin music in our house. My husband's a fan of Dean Martin, so Dean's famous song, everybody loves somebody sometime. So my kids, they would dance around and sing to it. So here I am in the grocery store, packed, it's late in the afternoon. All of a sudden, people were grumpy, packed around us. Got quiet for 1 second for me to hear my 3-year-old bellow out, and I was about 8 months pregnant too. Everybody loves to do it sometime. And the entire store just looked over at me with all these children, very pregnant, and I just looked and said, I think he's got a future. I don't know. So God has a really great sense of humor. It's you go out and you're a witness merely by being there. I had one woman say to me, take these children and walk across the college campus. Janet Smith told me that. That's the greatest visual that you can give them. And that is really the concept of what we've been trying to do with our speaking of motherhood. I'm going to see if this can walk over to me at all. I usually talk to these young girls. I'll show you my family first. I usually talk to these young girls, and I kind of load them up with what I just told you, in hopes that it's going to, number one, have them leave and consider saying yes to God in every area of their life. In the case of college students, we talk to them about waiting until they get married. I talked to an emergency room doctor once who volunteered and told me, he said, so many girls come in on the birth control, but almost to the letter, they're on another drug too, antidepressants. That is the psychological and spiritual harms that I have seen in the nursing field that I've been in for the 26 years that I've been in nursing. We share stories when we go out on campus about, for instance, there's a doctor in the Cincinnati area that shared with me. He came into our bookstore. My husband and I own a Christian bookstore. And he introduced himself as an OBGYN. And I said, Doctor, oh wow, I hope you don't mind. I don't mind putting it out there. How do you function as an OBGYN and not give out birth control or do sterilizations? He said, and he just hung his head. He's like, oh, I gotta tell you, I'm having a really hard time right now. So he goes on to tell me that 2 women were in his office in their late 20s, both having their second baby, and they both didn't know each other, but both separately in the same time period begged him to sterilize them at delivery. And he said, I said to them, you're too young, I don't want to do it. They insisted, so he did it. Within 6 months, one of the mothers lost her baby to an undetected heart defect. The other mother was nursing her baby, and the baby fell out of bed and was hung between the bed and the bedside table while she was sleeping. Both women were back in his office sobbing separately in the same month. Please, please reverse my tubal. I have to have more children. That doctor now has not only stopped on sterilizations, he is an NFP-only doctor. And you wouldn't believe how many women bring their daughters in single to get birth control. And he brings them in his office and says, you can go to any office probably in the city except mine. I'm going to tell you why you should be waiting till you get married. A lot of people will say, well, what's the difference between NFP and contraception? It's the same thing. See? Same thing. Young kids love to say that. No, it's not. Contraception is saying no to God. It is taking his supreme rights and sovereignty from the act he gave us as a gift for marriage and saying, no, we don't trust you with that. 1 out of every 2 couples in America by the age of 45 are sterilized. One of our moms here gives an incredible testimony about the fact that at the age of 26, when she was living in Connecticut, and having a hard time after her third baby, she was talked into having her tubes tied. And she gives a beautiful witness to these young girls and says, you know, God is forgiving, and she found her forgiveness through the divine mercy. And actually God blessed her with a reversal, and she had a little boy after 3 girls. But she says to these young women, God is forgiving, but the body is not forgiving. I did get to have another baby, but then I had 2 separate tubal pregnancies because of the scarring, and lost both my tubes and both my ovaries. She yearns to have more children even now in her 40s. When she sees women on the soccer field with toddlers, she wonders how many children God may have blessed her with had she not made that decision. We have another mom who, I call her my poster mom for big families, Christina, and she shares with these young girls the fact that when she was on the table with her second baby, and Christina, she's all of about 105 pounds, and she's had 8 C-sections. Doctors today tell you don't have children. Don't have them too young, and for goodness sake, don't have them after age 35. I oftentimes ask people, go home and ask your best friend in the whole world, or your brother or your sister that have just made a big difference in your life. How old was your mom when she had you? I had my last 4 children after the age of 35. When Christina was on the C-section table with her second baby, she started to hemorrhage really bad. And the doctor said she's not going to make it. The baby may not make it. And Christina jokes and said her mom was in the corner saying, save the baby! And she said, I know she meant save the baby also. But he looked at the husband and said, we got to tie her tubes right now. And Christina was in a fog. She tells the girls she was in a fog. She was actually going unconscious, and she said, no, do not tie my tubes. Husband said, nope. She said, no. So lo and behold, she had a beautiful baby boy, and she went back 8 weeks later for a checkup and was stunned to find out she was already pregnant. And the doctor called her in, I need to see you in my office, and she was, you know, gosh, that's strange, I never go in his office, and it was an atheist doctor who said to her, we have a problem, Mary Christine, you're pregnant. And she was just stunned, and he said, and you need to terminate. You will not make it through this pregnancy, this baby will not make it, you just got done hemorrhaging 8 weeks ago, and all on and on. And she said, doctor, I will not terminate. I could go outside and get hit by a truck if that's God's will, but I am not going to willingly take this life. And she went home, and she took care of herself, and she told the doctor, I'm going to see the other doctors. I don't want an abortion-minded doctor. Lo and behold, she goes into labor, goes to the emergency room, goes to the OB department, and who is the only doctor on call? That doctor. And he came into her and he said, Mary Christine, you have changed my life. I never was a believer, and I have followed your case, and I am now a believer. I can't believe you're having this baby. Can I deliver you? And she said, yes, absolutely. Had a beautiful baby and went on to have 6 more after that.